You're listening to episode 46 of the Comics Pals. We're a group of comic book journalists and friends who record a podcast together because we don't talk enough about comics in our daily lives.
Marco is in Italy asking to get trashed while doing weird BDSM shit, and then Pete's at the Olive Garden because when you're home, you're family.
Oh man, he's gonna come back and punch you in the mouth.
He loves the Olive Garden.
I don't think anyone loves the Olive Garden.
It's Italy's biggest export.
Oh
That's why Marco's there.
Can we export you to Italy?
I think they want me. They're gonna extradite me there. I'd be arrested.
Oh, you could only get so lucky.
Because when you're here, you're family.
So Marco and Pete are not here. We wish them the best in their future endeavors.
Because they're fired.
Exactly. Thank you, Kale. Seasons have changed. It is now September. It was probably September last time we did this too. The major difference is that Phil and I are sick. So excuse us if we sound like ass.
But that's every episode.
More so than usual.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kale, for keeping my spirits up in my time of anguish.
You're welcome.
He's a regular Mother Teresa.
Yeah, you know, I was bedridden and feeling awfully awful. And I thought, you know what's going to raise me up? Doing the Comics Pals.
And I thought, you know what'll really make me feel better? Spreading my germs throughout the entire internet.
So, you know what type
hot.
of person Kale is? I'm sorry, what? This took a turn.
All right, so
I'm
you were
sure
saying...
all the listeners at home that shipped you and Kale together, Sean, are interested. Please go on.
all 0.0.
Yeah, I think Sean and I would be the least shippable couple. I believe, and you'll have to our Tumblr fans will have to correct me. I believe we would be what is called a crack ship.
Excuse me?
Crack ship.
I believe a crack ship is when you pair the two characters in a relationship that makes absolutely no sense. Like they're the couple that has the least reason they would be together, but you ship them anyway.
I think if you're talking about a quote-unquote crack ship on the Comics Pals, it's got to be me and Marco.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
You and I were both old, you know. We both kind of just want to be quiet and do our own thing.
We're the geriatric pals.
Yeah, like we could get along because we just won't bother each other. Yeah. I'm not going to bother you. You're not going to bother me.
Yeah. Marco's the pal who comes in the room and is like, come on, peg me. Please peg me.
Wait.
Okay, hold on.
When it's a man and a man, you don't call it pegging, number one. It's just pure sex, you know?
Well,
hold on. Did I tune into the wrong station here? Is this the long box? What's going on?
Yeah, you're right.
Please peg me.
Let's get a little more PG here. We don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. Not that we make any money off
for
YouTube.
all that monetization we get.
Yeah, one day.
This episode is sponsored by the Olive Garden, because when you're here, you're family. Thanks, Pete and Bessie.
Oh my God, Pete's gonna hate you.
He's not here to defend himself.
That's right. So we've got a pretty big show this week. Lots of news to talk about. But before we get into that stuff, I do want to inform you guys where you can find us when you are trying to report us to the FCC. You can find us on iTunes, where we are a 5-star rated podcast, for which we are very proud, and would love to continue that trend. So make it happen. And of course, we're on all the other podcast hosting platforms, including SoundCloud, where you guys have been great to us. And if you are a SoundCloud listener, anyway, why don't you hop over to iTunes and just leave that like, you know, helps. You can find us wherever social media is sold at the Comics Pals. We're always posting good stuff. So if you want to keep up with the news throughout the week, we can be that for you. Or checking out cool art from different creators, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff we post. So check it out. We are also on YouTube, as we discussed, where we are currently hoping for monetization because we're all poor.
Except for Marco, apparently.
Well, that's true. He's in Italy. He just took a trip to Italy. And where'd he go before that?
That's when breadsticks up his butt.
He started in Italy. I think he's in Portugal now.
Really?
I think so.
Wow.
That's what Jess said. I'm not
paying attention. Where in the
attention.
world is Marco San Diego?
No, he's not in San Diego, that's for sure.
Marco San Diego.
You can check out our History of the Defenders video on YouTube, which is popping off, I have to say. It's doing really well for us. And we'd like it to do even better. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go and do that. Especially if you're just wrapping up the Defenders. It'd be a great time to check that out. And all of our Wizard World stuff. We posted even more interviews. So if you've seen the early ones, go back because there's more new stuff, including one with Keith Giffen, which is really cool, and Jordan Gibson, featuring Kale.
Featuring who? Me!
Featuring Kale. Yeah.
We talk about Riverdale, Kamen Rider, and our mutual love for sandwiches. I haven't watched that video in forever, and I was in it.
Check at your own risk. That's what I'd say. Kale's in it.
Yes. And last but not least, you can write to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. If you want to talk to us, why would you? But if you do,
you know how to make a mistake.
Can do it. Oh, I love this episode.
We're really self-deprecating because we're sick.
Oh, I'm just here.
So let's just jump into the reader mail because it is hot fire this week. There's a lot of it, and Pete's not here, so we're gonna let Kale take the reins on that.
All right, so here's hoping I don't fuck it up.
Only shot, bitch.
So Marco sent us something from wherever the hell he is. And he says, "Hey pals, salutations from a Czechian fire squad."
All right, thanks Marco. Thanks for writing in.
Hope that firing squad went well.
It was nice knowing you.
This is Marco coming in at the 45-minute mark. I'm currently in Tomania. Yes, Tomania. Don't know where that is. Being held against my will, but way more cooler than the time Phil Palsan was captured by the Russian hand. Kale is here too. No, I'm not. And sends his regards. or more like an uninterested grunt. Well, that sounds like me, yeah. Speaking of shipping, Marco says, I ship Sean and Phil and would like to officiate it. Sean Casey and Philip Bartley. Long live the king and king.
Oh, that's right. Sean proposed to me last episode. And then he quickly withdrew the proposal.
I did, but then I took it back.
Yeah. Sounds like something Sean would do. Marco says my official Netflix show rating is Daredevil season 1, Jessica Jones. It says he only made it halfway through. Daredevil season 2, Luke Cage, even though I didn't see it, The Defenders, and Iron Fist. I'm assuming Daredevil season 1 is number 1.
Yeah.
He also has we'll give it a second. He also has a special thing that we'll do in a minute.
All right.
What the heck?
This is called Kale struggling through reader mail.
He says, Miss You Pals drops the mic Marco. Please excuse any typos or autocorrection sent from phone.
All right, well, the only thing I want to address really is that if any Czechnians that are members of their fire squad are listening, you can, keep them.
May your bullets fly true.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get the feeling that Marco's from another planet?
I think Marco is like a real life. I think some sorcerer used some chaos magic to conjure a sigil to bring Marco alive from some manga page.
Wow, that was
he's literally a walking anime character
that's
deep. Brought to life. I think that's what happened.
Well, thank you for your rating, Marco. It would have been cooler if you gave it on the air with the rest of us last week, but you didn't, so thanks.
Yikes. Okay, here we go. Some more reader mail. This one's from James McMahon, friend of the show. This is about the Defenders review episode. James says, my personal thoughts were that it's an overall 7 out of 10. Some great moments and a couple standout episodes, but it just edged out Iron Fist at times. though Danny is much stronger in this. Well, I mean, it's okay to be wrong sometimes, James. Some good intentions. Some good interactions. Madame Gao had strong moments, enjoyed Elektra, wanted more. Some of it felt tapered to leave room for later seasons. Kaylee, you should watch at least Jessica Jones. Don't tell me what to do. Luke Cage has great blaxploitation moments, great music. If you have time, check it out.
Can we just talk about that last line? Great blaxploitation moments? I gotta say, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? What does that mean? James, listen, man, I don't know you. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but I'm gonna need you to write in again and clarify that, because I'm a little lost right now.
I think, yeah, the problem there really lies in the word, doesn't it?
I think it's pretty bold. I think it's plain. I'm gonna need clarification on that bit right there. But thank you for writing in at any rate.
Great use of the genre, maybe?
I don't know.
Well, don't dig a hole. Like, don't dig him out of the hole. Let him dig himself out of the hole.
I don't want to put words in James's mouth.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Here, I'll read the next one.
All right.
I'll read the next one.
Okay, go ahead.
This is from Harris Najinsky. The goal of the hand was extremely confusing. Getting the substance or actually returning to Kunlun. I think the show would have been a lot better if there wasn't so many reveals or giving so much exposition to hold the viewer's hand. Weaver was a waste of a character, as aside from her political power, she is not a threat. Do some martial arts in the least! Portrayed as desperate and dying, why not show her to be vicious than being an overprivileged, long-lived trust fund baby who fears to get her hands dirty?
Wow.
Anyone annoyed how easily they dispatched the opposing group against the hand, the chased? It's phrased that way. The mystery built up for that group throughout the Daredevil series just to be killed off screen? Or killed off screen.
So that's a that's a snippet of a comment we got from Harris. Thank you, Harris, on that episode. Weaver is not her name. Her name is Alexandra Reed. So
Weaver, Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, okay, right. That makes sense. My bad. I couldn't think of why he was saying Weaver there. Do some martial arts. I agree. We saw her do some stuff in the beginning, but then she didn't anymore.
Very little. Yeah.
And she kind of died before like the fighting really ramped up. So that sucked. I agree with the sentiment of this entire post, actually. I think the goal of the hand was really confusing. We talked about it on our review. Yes, they were trying to get the substance, but they also talked about wanting to get back home, and that was dropped. In fact, I thought that's what they were trying to do. Like, I thought that's where they had to go to get the substance.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, actually, when we were talking about it, but yeah. Any other commentary on his message?
He was very upset about the lack of martial arts. I couldn't help but notice.
Yeah. I think I was too. All right, moving right along. Sorry?
Well, and I think specifically from Sigourney Weaver, which I get.
She's a very talented martial artist.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen her, kick Daredevil's head in or something. Well, no, kicked Iron Fist's head in. That would have made me a lot happier.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Like, a fight between her and Iron Fist would have been great.
He's the protector of Kunlun. He is the immortal Iron Fist. He told us every 5 minutes.
All right, here's a comment from Emily Coleman on episode 45, our definitive ranking of the Marvel Netflix shows. On the topic of Ed Skrein,
Close enough.
That's not how you say his name. And Hellboy. Emily says, it's about time. Fans can make all the noise they want about whitewashing, but nothing will change until the actors take a stand against it. Scarlett Johansson said in a Marie Claire interview, she never wanted to take the Ghost in the Shell role away from an Asian actor, but she did by not walking away from the project. Hollywood won't stop whitewashing until these actors take a stance and turn down roles in favor of a minority actor playing a minority role. Yeah, I agree. This is a really good move on Ed's part. And it, I don't know, for Scarlett Johansson, and the same with Matt Damon and Emma Stone in that one Hawaii movie. Like, if you don't want to take a role away, don't take the role. Like, put your money where your mouth is.
It's just a weird concept to me, because it's like saying the proletariat will never seize means of production until the factory owner just willingly steps away from the factory. Like, I don't think most actors are going to turn down a lot of money for large IPs, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree with that.
And I think it's, and thank you for your comment, Emily. And I think that his heart is in the right place. Ed's heart is in the right place. And I think that yours is as well. But as I look at it, asking any actor to turn down, in some instances, in Scarlett's instance, millions of dollars just to take a stand about an issue is tough. And it's easy for us to say what we would and wouldn't do when we're not in that situation, but no one's offering me millions. And if they were, I probably would take the role because I could use $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. And even if you have millions, getting more millions is great. And we live in a capitalistic society that values that. And it doesn't make Scarlett a bad person. And I think it's, you could judge her for that if you please, but I really don't think that it makes her a bad human being for wanting to make money, and not valuing this issue highly enough to turn down X millions of dollars.
There is no means of ethical consumerism or consumption in late capitalism.
Carry on.
All right, so the next comment is another one from Harris. Here's how he ranks the Marvel Netflix series. He has Iron Fist at number 12. He says it gets a 12 even though there aren't shows in between. It's that bad. Harris, I would say it should get lower. Number 5 is Punisher. He says it hasn't come out yet, but it gets a temporary place here. Seems arbitrary, but that's fine.
Just preemptively above Iron Fist.
Yeah. Number 4 is Daredevil. No, I'm sorry. Number 4 is Defenders. Number 3 is Luke Cage. Number 2 is Daredevil. And number 1 is Jessica Jones. Harris says, yeah, fight me. I think it is the strongest of them all.
Okay. I don't know how Punisher is on this list, and I think Punisher will probably be better than the Defenders at least. But thanks for the comment. And I share your dislike of Iron Fist.
Finally, in our final comment, and potentially our favorite, I think, on our interview with Keith Giffen from Wizard World 2017 in Philadelphia, Denise Pereira writes, excellent interview. Just dropped the long intro. The music is pretty annoying. Hey, Denise, thanks for your comment.
We agree. Oh.
We agree, but also, fuck off.
I thought you were going to say that last part when you said, hey, Denise. So I was going to say, hey, we agree. And,
oh, boy.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the compliment, because it was my interview.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good job, man.
Pete's music, though.
Pete's music.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did a verbal riff with my mouth before the interview, and I guess she didn't like that.
So thanks for writing in, pals. I don't know, don't do it again. No, just kidding. Please write in all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care if you do or don't.
That's rough.
Oh,
yeah?
Are we moving on?
I was about to, yes.
Okay, perfect. Marco has a random question of the week.
Oh, yep. Random question of the week.
Fire away.
Marco says, we don't always talk about it, but what is your favorite comic of a certain genre outside of superheroes? In parentheses, he says, ew, superheroes. Laughing emoji, sunglasses emoji, and flipping off emoji. Pretty rude use of emojis, Marco. You're better than that.
He's such a strange cartoon character.
The 3 genres I'm interested in are below, and next to them are my favorite for each. Sci-fi, Prophet, horror, Harrow County, romance, My Little Monster. And that was an extension of his email. So,
all right.
So, what are your favorite genres outside of superheroes, and what are your favorite comics in those genres?
Let's see.
Marco's into romance comics. That's not surprising.
No.
Doesn't he read Archie?
Is Archie technically a romance comic?
Yeah, why not?
I think it's more of like a slice of life comic.
I would say so.
I guess now it could be more classified as a romance, but...
Well, I've got an answer to this question.
Let's go.
What do you got for us?
All right. So, for me, it's crime. I really like crime books. Velvet. Anything Ed Brubaker writes, pretty much, in that genre.
Oh, I should have expected that.
Yeah. Science fiction. So, anything that Rick Remender has written over the last 4 years. Black Science. Low. Both of those books are huge for me. And then Lazarus as well by Greg Rucka. Which I guess, if we're doing 3 for whatever reason, an extension of Lazarus would be dystopian future, if that can be considered a genre. I would include Lazarus in that. And then there are tons of other books you could throw in that. Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender. There's just plenty of books you could throw there. So, yeah.
All I keep thinking of is Grant Morrison books, like We 3, the book with the animals get cybernetic implants. Invisibles, which is like a hypersidual realized, that's like a sensationalized version of Grant Morrison's life as the King Mob character.
Wait, is Grant Morrison a genre?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
All right, hey, listen, the 3 of us are the Grant Morrison pals, so we could say whatever we want about him as long as it's positive.
I think it's probably true, yeah.
Unless one of us is Alan Moore, in which case we could say negative things about Grant Morrison.
Alan Moore can say whatever he wants.
I don't need your fucking permission, Sean.
Thank you, sir.
Now
may
bend
I
over.
have another?
Bend over, all 3 of you, as I paddle you with the paddle swath of Mordor.
Right on.
Alright, so I think mine... man, I'm gonna go with what I'm feeling right now.
That's fair.
I'm super into Kung Fu comics right now. My favorite...
Oh, Iron Fist.
I like Iron Fist.
Yeah, comic book Iron
TV
Fist
show.
is phenomenal.
No. Don't be an asshole.
It's in his nature.
My favorite Kung Fu comic right now is probably Infinite Kung Fu by Kagan McLeod. It's a comic. It's a Kung Fu comic based in ancient mythical China, and it involves like a zombie apocalypse. It's amazing. Oh, it's so good. Also very into Usagi Yojimbo. Shout out to my cousin Chris, who pointed me in that direction. Always into kaiju stuff. Kaiju Max being probably number 1 on that list. And then I guess I would say sci-fi or slice of life would be my number 3. Archie or Giant Days. Giant Days is very good. I'm also a big... Oh, Jughead, of course. Big fan of Jughead. And I don't know, you could probably lump sci-fi in with well, all of this really.
Slice of life,
but the kaiju stuff. Because I was literally just about to say, I was just about to say that Kaiju Max is my favorite sci-fi book. So,
yeah. I wanted to underscore one more book, both sci-fi and horror. Hellboy.
Cool.
Hellboy is infinitely my shit.
Would you call it sci-fi or more horror?
It's got sci-fi in it. It's like magic, horror, sci-fi. It's like a little three.
Okay, right on.
Kale, are
Like
you...
occult.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm done.
That was it.
That's all I got.
I was going to ask you a question. Are you excited for the Shang-Chi comic book that's coming out by CM Punk?
I don't know who
That
CM
sounds
Punk
cool.
is.
Oh, the wrestler, former wrestler / MMA fighter.
Don't call him a wrestler.
Why not?
It's
He doesn't like it.
Screw him.
it's enough to get me to at least look at it. Shang-Chi, I think, is I would say he's a fairly neglected character as of late.
Yeah.
He's gotten one or two things. He had a miniseries during Secret War, or the Battle World thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like he had a series just before that as well, but I'm not positive of what it is. But Kung Fu Comics, I think, have taken, other than like Iron Fist, have taken a backseat to, as far as like genre comics go. So it'll be cool to see something happening.
Did you read Drax, the recent Drax run?
No.
That was written by CM Punk.
Okay. Okay. I knew about that. Yeah. It's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be good? I feel like
It was alright.
Yeah,
heard
it was solid.
good.
Yeah, it was,
Okay.
yeah.
It was alright.
Yeah. All right, cool. So thank you for the random question, Marco. And of course, if you guys at home want to send us your random questions by yourselves or reader mail, you can do so in all the ways we talked about earlier, including writing to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. Now let's move on to our pals pulls for the week. From Kale, we've got Corto Maltese, Fable of Venice, and Kaiju Max Season 3, Number 3. Do you have words for either of those?
No. Corto Maltese is another, it's another graphic novel of the Hugo Pratt's lone World War I Navy soldier who just kind of goes around and does his own thing. I've described it as a World War I Cowboy Bebop. I read in the description this week that, or the summary of the book, that it involves Freemasons, occultists, and esoterists. So I'm pumped about that. Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, esoterists?
Yes.
What the hell is that?
I think it's an esoteric, but
Terrorist.
a group of them.
Yeah. Read the book and find out.
That
Yeah.
sounds Grant
Yeah.
Morrison-y.
Yeah, I like it. Do you know who's writing that?
Hugo Pratt.
Oh, okay.
It's old Hugo Pratt work that they're putting out into the world again.
Sweet. And then from Phil, we've got Mr. Miracle number 2 and Vision Director's Cut number 4.
Yeah, buddy, it's all about that Tom King.
Yes.
I don't buy floppies, but I bought Mr. Miracle number 1 because Tom King and Mitch Gerads is really one hell of a tandem, and I plan on buying issue 2 as well. I have the first one featured prominently on my shelf. It is the dope shit. I saw a tweet from Mitch saying that like a lot of retailers are selling out these Mr. Miracle issues, and like the pre-order requests are off the shelves, off the charts.
Yeah.
So good shit. Buy that book. And then Vision, Marvel, realizing they let a hunk of a man go, are just reprinting Vision with all the director's cut stuff, and that book was fucking ill.
Yes. And the extra content is very cool, especially if you are a writer or an aspiring writer, whatever. If you care about that level of comic book creation, there's a lot there for you. So definitely check that out. And then for me, Dark Knight's Metal #2 and Generations Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. I'm really excited about this issue of Generations. I think most people probably were excited about this one, the Jean Grey one, and the Jean Grey one, and maybe a couple others. Some of them have been hit or miss, but because this one is featuring Marvel, who's been dead for a really long time. I mean, he's still going to be dead after this, but it's going to be cool to see him again.
I read the Iron Man one. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, you know, the quality has been varying. The Jean Grey one was really good. I thought the Hulk one was solid. Greg Pak, like, you know, if you like the creator, you'll probably like it. You'll probably like the book.
Greg Pak is good with Hulk shit.
Exactly, that's his wheelhouse. And then as far as Dark Knight's Metal #2, the first issue was good.
How do you like the cliffhanger at the end?
Cool, man. Cool. You know, I don't want to spoil it but it's very good. And I like where they're going with this. So I'm excited for more.
I like that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo are doing more weird shit.
Yeah.
Because they usually don't.
Right.
Like they don't stray too far from. I don't know. Their entire Batman run was grounded as far as a Batman book can be, I think.
Yeah, and this gives you an idea of what their run could have been like if they loosened the reins a little bit. And not that they needed to. I think this is cool. This is cool as its own thing. So yeah, definitely excited for that.
Sean, I need to say something.
Sure.
Something that I never expected, I would say.
All right. You're keeping us in suspense.
Yeah, and well, I need to brace myself because I really have to get this off my chest this week.
Fire away.
I was listening to our sister show, the Longbox podcast, this week, and they were talking about Jean Grey #6, and it sounded pretty dope.
Ooh, really?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I like when you started talking about the Jean Grey Generations book, it reminded me that as they were talking about it, I went, shit, that sounds good.
All right, that's spicy. See,
what's in the water over there?
Right? Wow, I never thought I would hear that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to take a second. We might have to pause the recording. I need to go collect myself. I'm going to have to go take like a shower and wash the shame off.
I'm going to need a shower too, dude. For a different reason, though.
The logical ship here, I think, is not Sean and me. It's Kale and Sean. They've got the Katara and Zuko thing from Avatar.
It's sounding more and more real as we go along with this episode, so maybe by the end I'll get on bended knee.
Oh.
On Brian Bendis' knee.
Oh, wow. That's awful, dude.
You're not Kitty Pryde, so.
Oh.
No.
See, now I just want to do the news. Now I don't even
Now I don't even want to do the news.
Oh, you don't? All right, so
let's just shut it down.
Yeah, screw it.
All right, well, bye, everyone.
This
was a short one.
How we end the show, so, no.
All right, as always, you can find me at Toto and Toe, TOTOTOTO.
Oh man. All right, let's not do that. So, in the news this week, there's a lot of it. But I want to start with a question for you guys. When you think of the Joker origin movie concept,
oh god,
what's the first word that comes to your mind? When you think about all this Joker stuff, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Fork, hyphenate, in, hyphenate, brain, hyphenate. My brain actually melted in the middle of explaining that. Fork and brain.
Brooklyn. From that interview with that guy. on what was it, Howard Stern. He said it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be, it's gonna be dark and it's gonna be edgy. It's gonna be set in Brooklyn.
It's gonna be real. It's gonna be real.
Set in Brooklyn.
Right? Yeah, on the Joe Rogan show. Damaged. Thank you, Phil. I knew there was a funny gem in there, but you weren't getting it out. Oh. Damaged. So for
Phil,
me,
what are you, Daddy's little monster?
Boys,
I think that Jared Leto hit the nail on the head when he was asked about the Joker origin movie, and he said the following: "I'm a little confused." I think that's the word, right? Like you could use that word about the whole DCEU, right? Like confused. That is the word. So thank you, Jared Leto, for providing that. But the rest of the quote was a little better. He was at the launch of the video game Destiny 2, and he tried to be a good sport about the news about the fact that he won't be playing Joker in the origin movie. He said, "I love the Joker. He's a great character and really fun character to play. But it's a big universe, and when you play the Joker, there's no ownership there. You have the honor of holding the baton for a little while and then passing it off. There are other films that are in development, and I'm excited to see what comes from them." So that's cool of him, But I love the fact that he came out and said he was confused, because I think he describes all of us when he says that.
That's the Joker. Why so serious? All he does is confuse us. His motivations don't make sense. He's crazy smart in the kind of way that none of us can understand.
He can see all the strings. It's like we're all puppets, and he can see the strings.
That reminded me of Age of Ultron. A much better movie than Suicide Squad.
Ooh, but not by much.
I don't know, man. I enjoyed Age of Ultron quite a bit.
Oof. You were the only one.
No, I was not the only one.
I think I had a better time at Suicide Squad, honestly.
This is where we gotta just fight, dude. Like, come back to New York, because...
So much for the marriage.
Yeah, it's over now.
No, this is why people ship you.
If you value...
The original Odd Couple.
If you value Suicide Squad...
No, hold on. I didn't say value.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
I had... my opinion on the Suicide Squad movie has always been that I saw it for free, and I had fun, but it wasn't... I maintain that it was not a good movie.
You know what? We actually agree 1,000%. I had a blast at Suicide Squad. I think it's very fun. But Age of Ultron is actually a lot better than that.
The difference is that one of them won an Academy Award, and the other one has James...
Stop. Don't even do that. We're actually just going to move right along, because I don't even want to talk about that. So Justice League is probably at the bottom of a lot of people's...
it comes out in 2 months now. Like, it can't get much worse, right? Like, what are we going to talk about next week? Like, it can't be that...
Dude, you don't even know what we're about to talk
worse.
about right now. Trust me, you have no clue. You're not even ready for this.
I don't know why I called you homie. I apologize.
Why you apologize? That's fine. That's great. Homie. Yeah, we're homies. What's wrong with that?
I gather the news. I know what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. It's at the bottom of a lot of people's most anticipated list for the year. Or so you would think. If you listen to this podcast, you would think so, because everybody on this podcast is negative. But me and Phil. Even though Phil has betrayed his natural sense of goodness and turned to the dark side about this movie. Me?
I'm the Joker.
Oh, God. Me? I'm not giving up the ghost on this movie until it comes out. But as it turns out, according to a poll done by Entertainment Weekly, Justice League is the second most anticipated film for the fall, according to Fandango's most anticipated fall movies survey. The survey polled more than 1,000 fans. Thor was the number 1 most anticipated movie. Blade Runner, Kingsman, The Golden Circle, and It rounded out the top 5. So
why not Star Wars?
Sorry?
Is Star Wars considered a winter, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that come out this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm hyped. Episode 8. But on the subject, Justice League also fared well in some other categories. People are actually excited to see Ben Affleck as Batman again.
I'd love to see him for the first time.
Feels like the first time.
And that was a different category. That was most anticipated actor. He came in number 5th on that one. And number 1 in that one was Gal Gadot. People want to see her reprise her role as Wonder Woman. So
yeah, definitely. I'll get behind that.
Yeah, me too. I think this caused me to question whether or not we just live in an echo chamber. And the reaction to this movie outside of the internet isn't actually as bad as we make it out to be.
I kind of have the opposite reaction. So, fall is like generally purgatory for blockbuster films. Most blockbuster films don't come out in the fall. They come out in the winter, they come out in the summer for the most part. The fact that it's number 2 behind Thor and its competition is movies like It and I don't even remember the other 2 movies you named, I don't think is very flattering. A Justice League movie should be number 1.
That is a fair point. Yeah, sure.
And the fact that Ben Affleck's Batman is number 5, I think is extremely unflattering.
I don't know.
Because how large is the sample size of an Entertainment Weekly poll? How many people probably read that? Probably tens of thousands of readers, right?
Well, it said the poll was for 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So that's a small ass sample size.
I mean, it is admittedly a small sample size, but I just wonder if it reflects any truths about what moviegoers are actually looking for. And I think you make a good point about Justice League when it's coming out, the time frame. If you were talking about the summer, maybe it would have been number 4 or 5. But
they've ranked it all.
The reason why I take a positive out of this is because the backlash has been so harsh. This is the worst talked about movie of the year. I mean, honestly, right? Like, the press behind this movie has been worse than any other movie that's come out this year. And yet, people are still excited enough about it for it to rank number 2. I think that's good.
Well, they spent a lot of money on publicity. I think when you spend that much money on trying to attract attention to a film, you're going to get some positive feedback no matter what. Because it's in your face everywhere.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
this movie's probably getting more money spent on its publicity campaign than any other movie of 2017. Maybe next to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But Star Wars doesn't spend a ton of money on publicity because they think it advertises itself. The last one only spent money on the 2 trailers and a couple TV spots.
I don't know. I think people are excited about a Justice League movie, one way or the other. It hasn't come out yet. We don't know how bad it is. But, I mean, even, like, the thought of a Justice League movie to me makes me excited. And then I remember, oh, shit, it's this mess. Like, people were pumped about the Avengers. And even Batman versus Superman.
But all signs pointed to good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for most people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Are you doing this show, or are you?
No, I'm asking. What all signs point to what being good? Justice League or Batman versus Superman?
To Avengers and BVS.
You and I aside, respectively.
Yeah, on the outset of BVS, the hype was very real until everybody saw Doomsday. But prior to that,
You're right.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd been shut off on BVS since Man of Steel. But similarly, you hate the Avengers. So I just think I think it's one of those movies that people are just going to be excited for. I think financially it'll do great. Of course people are going to go see it. It's the Justice League. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be good.
It'll do well. No, it's not going to be a box office bomb, but I think it's going to underperform to expectation. Just like Batman vs. Superman did.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think that's fair, and I think we'll talk about Justice League a lot more, so I'm comfortable leaving it at that, but I think that's fair.
Guys, though, is supposed to be amazing. I want to see it so bad.
Yeah.
That's out now?
It is out now. I want to check that out.
Kingsman.
But
that's a comic book movie.
I'm in a different country, and I don't have their currency, so I'm going to have to figure that out.
Well, The Kingsman's a comic book movie. It's based off a Mark Millar book. The first one was fucking awesome. That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I'm very excited for the second one.
Yeah, you know what?
I never read the book.
There haven't been any news articles that have come our way, really, about that movie. It's kind of low-key as far as news is concerned, but...
I feel like the first one was, too.
Yeah, but it got a lot of positive feedback, like what Phil said, so maybe that's worth checking out, and we should talk about that more than we do about things like Justice League. But I have a...
Man, I'd be so down for that.
It ain't gonna happen. I have a question for you guys. Can you see John Cena?
No. Who?
John Cena.
Only if he wants you to see him.
Can you see John Cena as Shazam?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah?
I just want to say, probably 30, 40 episodes ago, I was like, when they make a Shazam movie, it should be John Cena as Shazam, and The Rock as Black Adam for thrice in a lifetime.
You did say that, and I really hated that. And I hate it now, too, that John Cena is being reported by that hashtag show, who are the same people who reported recently about Sin Eater potentially being a villain on Daredevil Season 3. They're now saying that WB is zeroing in on an actor to play Shazam, and that John Cena from the WWE and an actor named Joshua Sassy are the front runners for this role. I don't know what to think of that.
I think it's a cool little meta rivalry. You know, putting The Rock against John Cena in the DC films. It's not my preferred casting. I've said I'd like to have John Hamm as Shazam, Captain Marvel, but I don't know. It's not bad. It's fun. I think it's fun. I think he would make it a fun, and that also it does kind of add to the wish fulfillment aspect to it.
Yes.
It's fun. It's fun.
My thing is...
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Do you guys support the troops?
I mean,
yes.
I support them individually. As a unit, I have a lot of...
Then you won't want to miss Super Slam, where John Cena will take on The Rock in a spit-swapping makeout match.
Oh my god.
I just murdered Sean, everyone.
I knew where you were going as soon as you started that, and that is my favorite prank call, or at least one of them, and I love that. So I'm glad we got that on this show. My girlfriend is going to get a kick out of that.
I don't understand what just happened.
That is great. So, just real quick, before we jump over, I can't see John Cena as anything other than a wrestler. And so for me, imagining him in this role is too hard. But I think Kale brought up a good point about the wish fulfillment element, and I think there's a way you can make that really cool. If they could, and this won't happen, I don't even know if this is a good idea, but I think it'd be interesting if somehow Billy Batson's favorite wrestler is John Cena. So when he turns into Shazam, he becomes that. You know, like
he's a Make-A-Wish kid.
I think that would, like, if this were a WWE Studios movie, I think that would be amazing. That's not going to happen, but I think that'd be really cool, and I think that's a good point, Kale.
And if it was a WWE movie, Black Adam would be The Miz.
Oh, you just took a decent idea and made it shit. Anytime you include The Miz.
You know it's true, though. That's what would happen.
Yeah, you're right. Or they would pick The Rock to play Black Adam just because he's black.
If they can get him.
They can't even afford him. They'd have to get
WWE Studios.
They'd get
money.
R-Truth.
What's up?
Oh man, all right. This isn't the Wrestling Pals. Kale's looking lost.
I bet these are funny jokes.
Yeah, they're okay. All right, so let's move on and talk about something that Kale does know a little something about. Let's talk about Thor Ragnarok. Oh.
Yikes.
Let's talk about Thor Ragnarok. Because this is a movie that actually has some really good press. So embargoes are up on set visits that various different websites and entertainment reporting groups got to visit the set of the movie, and they had a lot of really good things to say about it. I want to highlight a conversation that Tom Hiddleston had with IGN, where he talked about the relationship between Loki and Thor. So here's a quote from Tom Hiddleston himself. So he becomes the king of Asgard, and everything is great. It's a good party. But he failed to realize the threats that were just over the horizon, Hela being the biggest and most terrible one of all. Loki's feelings towards his family members are complex, and he never conceived, and this is Tom Hiddleston talking about the character, he never conceived of Loki's emotional connections to Odin or Thor as malevolent. He just wants to have a go on the throne, which he does. And then Chris Hemsworth had this to say about the relationship. There's a feeling from Thor now that's just like, you know what, kid? Do what you want. You're a screw-up, so whatever, do your thing. And now back to Hiddleston. The opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. So the idea that Thor might be indifferent to Loki is troubling for him, because that's a defining feature of his character. I don't belong in the family. My brother doesn't love me. I hate my brother. And the idea that his brother's like, yeah, whatever, it's an interesting development. So actually I'll read one last quote. That's kind of what I loved about Ragnarok when I first read it. The two of them are placed in such an extraordinary situation where everything is unfamiliar, that their familiarity, literally as family members, becomes important. So the reason why I was so interested in this is because I feel like something was missing. An emotional through line was missing in the prior Thor films that it sounds like we're now going to get here. And they're tying Loki and Thor's relationship into that.
I disagree.
Okay.
I feel like Thor 1 and Thor 2 were pretty specifically about that emotional through line. Whether or not it was handled well, your mileage may vary, but I feel like that's exactly what it was about.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, it sounds like they're expressing something that sounds like it's going to be really good, as opposed to. Sorry,
I was going to. Do you mean for this movie? This is the connecting thread for this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
all I know is it's tough being Loki right now. I think of the new Taylor Swift song, "Fuck you, Loki. You'll never be James Bond." It's real hard being him right now.
Man, that Taylor Swift song is bad. Ooh, it's bad.
Agreed. Anyway.
The joke is that she dated Thomas Hiddleston.
I was like, what are you talking about?
And that Thomas Hiddleston was trying to be James Bond.
So, Thor 2 actually really gripped me. Most people probably don't remember that movie anymore. But Loki's quote-unquote sacrifice at the end of that, I thought was pretty powerful.
Was it a sacrifice?
Yeah, he allegedly kills himself in order to help defeat what's his name again? Malekith.
Doctor Who.
And then in the end, it turns out that he hadn't killed himself, and he actually takes over the throne of Asgard.
That's what I remember, is him taking over the throne.
Right. But he pretends to sacrifice himself, so everyone thinks Loki's dead. That I liked. But where they were going to go, I had no clue. So now that we have an idea of the roadmap of the emotional story that they're going to be telling, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it seems like some time is, especially with Thor's comments, Chris Hemsworth, especially with his comments, it really seems like, they're going to have some time pass where, I don't know, presumably the people of Asgard will know that it's Loki, and they're just gonna be like, all right, fine, whatever.
Where's the two broke girls in all this? Like Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings, boy, there's a lot I could say about Kat Dennings, but
is it about her chest?
No.
All right.
This show is PG. We put all that other stuff. We front-loaded that, right? YouTube is watching. Stop it. Kat Dennings will not make an appearance in this movie. Is that for the better? I don't think so. I think the Thor franchise is as tied to Kat Dennings as I'm tied to Phil.
Ooh.
I don't know. Yeah, and they got Jeff.
You're right. I'm not seeing this movie. No Kat Dennings.
They got Jeff Goldblum now, so.
That's true. A good point. I'm going to see this movie again.
Yes. All right. Did either of you read any part of Jason Aaron's Thor run?
No, sir.
Yes, but I don't know what it was off the top of my head.
Great. Awesome. That is a perfect segue into this next topic, because we're going to talk about Hela's power set in the upcoming movie. Now, Hela in the comics, her powers are kind of esoteric. From comic to comic, she can somewhat do different things. And she's also extremely powerful. She can kill people with a touch sometimes. But in this movie, they really wanted to bring her powers down a little bit into something that's understandable. And so they chose to take the villain, Gorr, from the Thor God of Thunder run by Jason Aaron and Asada Beach. And basically what Gorr can do is manifest weapons from like the infinite darkness or whatever. And so that's really interesting. And I'll read a quote from a producer on the film. A lot of the design of Hela is a combination of the early Jack Kirby stuff, but also, especially his power set, the villain Gorr, who has a very specific power set of being able to manifest an infinite number of weapons. So they're basically taking that character and applying him to Hela. We are doing a version of that, not exactly, but a version of that for Hela in our movie. Because in the books, Hela can kind of touch people and they die, and sometimes she can do all sorts of different things, and we really try to specify and narrow it down into specific skill sets. So, for me, as someone who did read that book, this kind of sucks, because Gorr is a fascinating character. And I hate it when they kind of eliminate the possibility of characters existing in this way. He has a weapon that he found, basically, that allows him to do that. He's a regular mortal. He's a mortal being who finds a weapon that allows him to kill gods. So he's Gorr the God Killer. And I thought that would make a great villain for a future Thor movie, and now that's kind of eliminated because they're giving his power set to her.
I mean, that's not a bad title for this movie, Hela the God Killer. God. Is that the God Butcher?
God Butcher, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, God Butcher.
I think that's even better. Hela the God Butcher.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's like Frank the Butcher from Gangs in New York. That's my connection, everyone.
Thanks, Phil.
Daniel Day-Lewis in Thor Ragnarok.
No thanks.
No, yeah, pass.
Why? What?
I don't know.
Best actor in Hollywood.
I don't know.
Know about
Pass.
that. Yeah, pass.
He is,
Yeah,
absolutely. Listeners, write in and tell Sean and Kale that they're out of their minds.
Pass.
The best actor in Hollywood?
Yeah, he's the best actor alive.
Nah, pass.
He's got 3 Academy Awards for Best Actor. He's the only actor to have that distinction.
Yeah, pass.
Why don't
in the history of
Pass.
acting.
Pass. Hey, Phil, pass.
Ridiculous.
Why don't we talk about
Ridiculous.
X-Force, the movie? Because apparently Fox has hired Drew Goddard, who obviously was the showrunner for Daredevil season 1, and kind of helped create that show and birth that show. And then he also made the Cabin in the Woods movie. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Drew Goddard wrote that. Yeah. So he's got some talent, big time talent, and Fox has roped him in for this flick. I think that and again that's according to Deadline, a report from Deadline. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because Deadpool has really changed the way that Fox is approaching these movies now. They're so high on that character that now they're bringing in somebody in Drew Goddard who all the press about him is great. He's coming off of Daredevil, which was great. He did The Martian also. So he's got a lot of really good... he wrote it. He didn't direct it. He wrote it. He's got a lot of good vibes around him right now. And I think you bring in a guy like that when you want it to be good. So getting him for this movie, for X-Force, pairing Cable and Deadpool for this movie, 2 characters who are going to be through the roof by the time Deadpool 2 comes out. I think that's pretty clear. If Deadpool 2 does what Deadpool 1 did, it's going to be huge. Now, instead of focusing on the X-Men, it feels like Deadpool and the X-Force might kind of take over that, like, that mainstream role, almost.
I mean, Fox is doing good shit outside of, like, X-Men Apocalypse and maybe X-Men Phoenix or whatever, Dark Phoenix. So, yeah. I mean, I really like Daredevil Season 1 is, like, the best superhero shit ever. So, yeah, for me, all the more reason to be enthusiastic about the X-Force movie.
He also wrote the only episode of Defenders I liked, which was number 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't realize he'd written one.
Yeah, once I realized how much I didn't like it, I started paying attention to who was writing each episode to see if I liked anyone better than the other, and I saw that he was on number 6 and figured that was why I liked it the most.
Are either of you guys fans of X-Force in the comics?
Yeah, not particularly.
Okay.
I've read a lot of X-Men stuff. I've never read X-Force, though.
Okay. I was just wondering what you guys thought about as far as what the team might look like. But
well, probably gonna have Deadpool.
Is Psylocke on that team?
Yeah, she's been in the more recent incarnations.
It'd be cool to have Olivia Munn back as Psylocke and actually give her a chance.
That would be huge.
Other than
I totally agree.
She's not really an actress, right? She's like a model.
She's an actress. She's been an actress.
She was Psylocke in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
No,
I know that, but like, isn't she more traditionally like just a model?
No, she used to be on the G4 shows, Attack of the Show.
Way to go, Sean!
And then she transitioned. Yeah, I love that, man. That was my stuff.
Maybe we will get married then.
And then she transitioned into acting and has been doing that ever since. or at least trying to.
She was on Newsroom, that HBO show with Jeff, not Goldblum, but Jeff,
Foxworthy.
Bridges,
thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So I would like that. I would like to see Olivia Munn come back. I think that's a good one. Domino, she's going to be in Deadpool 2. I think that would be a strong option to put in this movie.
Is Negasonic Teenage Warhead one of them?
That's from Grant Morrison's run.
I don't think she's a part of the
New
X-Men.
X-Men.
Okay, that might be a cool addition though, because she was she was such a big part of Deadpool 1. It might be cool to bring her in to tie it all together.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say this though, and then we can move along. But I wish that Fox put this much effort into making their X-Men proper films good.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, most of the X-Men proper films are great, so
I don't understand how you feel that way.
Wholly disagree.
Because they're fucking awesome.
2 of them are. 3 of them are. If you count Logan as an X-Men film, which I do.
Oh,
I'm talking about like the X-Men team movies.
Yeah, you got X1, X2.
Yeah, they're 4 for 6.
All right, we won't dive into that argument, but the time will come where we will. But that being said, I guess I'm talking about the recent trend then. If we can just ignore, if we can talk about what they've done for me lately, hasn't been so hot. And snagging someone like Drew Goddard for this recent stuff, that's a huge get. And I wish that they tried to get someone like that instead of Simon Kinberg, who hasn't directed a thing.
You're right.
It's their money. This next subject, this is a tough one because there was a massive document release by WikiLeaks. You can see how I made that flub. And we learned some information about the deal between Sony and Marvel, the licensing agreement that allows them to use Spider-Man and what they can and cannot do with the character. So I'm going to read a few of these and we'll talk about what according to Marvel and Sony makes Spider-Man and the things that they're not allowed to do. So here's what the traits are of Spider-Man and what he cannot do. He is always male. He does not torture. He does not kill in defense of self or others. Does not use foul language beyond PG-13. Does not smoke tobacco. Does not sell or distribute illegal drugs. Does not abuse alcohol. Does not have sex before the age of 16. Does not have sex with anyone below the age of 16 and is not a homosexual unless Marvel has portrayed that alter ego as a homosexual. The Peter Parker character traits include: his full name is Peter Benjamin Parker. He is Caucasian and heterosexual. His parents become absent from his life during childhood. From the time his parents become absent, he is raised by Aunt May and Uncle Ben in New York City. He gains his powers while attending either middle school or college. He gains his powers from being bitten by a spider. He designs his first red and blue costume. The black costume is a symbiote and not designed by him. He is raised in a middle-class household in Queens, New York. He attends or attended high school in Queens, and he attends or attended college in New York City. So, this is stuff that I could see people being pretty upset by because of 2 major factors. The fact that in order for Peter Parker to exist on screen, currently, according to this licensing agreement, he has to be white and heterosexual. What do you guys think about that?
Well, my real takeaway from this is the beginning, where it's all these very strange clauses where it's like, he doesn't have sex before the age of 16. So to me, it's like some sleazy director or producer came in and is like, all right, I have this great idea for Spider-Man. He's sexually active preteen. And they're like, no, that's a terrible idea. Write that down to things that you can't do. Alright, I'll show myself the door. Just shit like that. Like, people coming in with these really bad ideas to the point where Sony and Marvel both would be like, what? No, that's a terrible fucking idea. Write that down as a do not do.
This is just one of those things. It's very, very similar to our, I don't know, Marvel diversity problem, arguments. You know, we talked about whether or not Doctor Strange should, be of an Asian descent. We talked about whether Iron Fist should be Asian. We've talked about, we've bounced a bunch of different things around. I think you guys talked about, the Ed Skrein, Hellboy thing.
Right.
I think for me, ultimately, it closes the door. As an arguably straight white man, it closes the door for other stories to be told. It takes the comics as gospel, and if we don't, there's no reason other than, pure stubbornness that Peter Parker can't be a bisexual black kid in New York. Like, that's insane. Like, that whole idea could mean so much to other people, to have that represented, and they're just gonna shut that down. Like, it's disgusting, really.
Man,
if Pete was here, he's too busy eating his unlimited breadsticks, but he'd have a lot of fire opinions on this subject.
Yes.
Would he? I think he'd agree.
I think so.
I think
he would agree, but he would agree with fire.
I think he would.
Actually, no, I don't think he would agree.
Yeah, I don't think he would
he
either.
would agree up to as long as Peter Parker isn't Miles Morales.
Maybe.
See, for me, I mean, I disagree. I don't want to see Peter Parker not be exactly what he is. But that's been my stance about things like this pretty much the entire time. I think there's maybe more wiggle room with Miles since he is a kid in the comics, and there's a lot of things they can do with him. But Peter's Peter.
Well, you think he's going to grow up and turn into a white guy?
He might. You never know what happens, man. We live in a new world. I think there's more wiggle room with Miles, and you can introduce him and make him those things, and get that diversity and that representation. But I think that for a lot of people, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and those people shouldn't not get that too. And that's always going to be my thing. The two.
You mean?
I think you can.
You mean white Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Is what you're saying?
Peter Parker as he's presented, and he's presented as white. So yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the character is what he is since his inception, and I don't think there's anything wrong with white people at all. The character is white, and that's just what it is. If you don't want Spider-Man to be white, then use Miles and make him that. Make Miles the Spider-Man for everybody else. And to be honest, I don't even think it's a this is for them, this is for them. I love both characters. I celebrate both characters, and if both characters had movies, I go see them both. And that's the beauty of the two. And I think we're always so caught up in this is how it has to be, or there's nothing. And I just think that is wrong-headed, man. Like, why can't we have both?
I don't know. Yeah, and every time we've had this argument, I walk away unsure of how I feel about that. Because Peter Parker was created in the 60s, by a group of white men, who focused on white men, and that was their thing. And it's only just now that we're getting to the point where things are changing.
But if you flash forward 32 years later, this white character created by white men to reflect white problems affected this black kid who doesn't understand white problems. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I think the happy compromise is that Miles Morales exists, and so you can easily do a story about a black Spider-Man or a Latino Spider-Man. And I have no issues with Miles Morales taking Peter Parker's place.
Yeah, no, and that's, and
you know what I mean?
I agree with that part of it. I really like Miles. I like the idea of Miles. I like, and I like Peter Parker. I don't know, I think for us, there's no easy answer. I think this is one subject that the pals will probably always be at odds about. I really do. Yeah, because I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It's a hot button issue in comics, I would say. I really would. And there are a lot of people who, like the pals, will never agree on this subject. And I do want to say, for clarity's sake, this article was actually written 2 years ago. It came around on our feed and we picked it up, but it is not something recent. So what's in there may have changed, although I don't think so, because it is a licensing agreement that may have been updated, but nothing in Spider-Man Homecoming gives me any impression that what's in here is not accurate up until this point. Just wanted to make that clear.
Wait, Sean's black?
Yeah, that was in the Sony hacked emails. You didn't know about that?
I didn't know that. Holy shit. 46 episodes in, and I'm only learning this now.
They figured me out. Me
out. Sony, thanks for letting me know. Or WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks, there you go. So, I want to talk about Marvel's bad week. Because
more like a bad year.
Marvel has had a really bad week, and it has been in a bad year, and that's the main topic of the show. But let's start with their week. Because, first of all, the Marvel Inhumans IMAX experience situation has come and gone. The ratings, or the gross is in, and it's gross. They didn't do well. It's being labeled "quote unquote" soft in terms of what they pulled it by Variety. It pulled in $2.6 million worldwide, which is pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And we know that IMAX funded the season for ABC and Marvel. So IMAX covered the costs of this show. Well, I should say they shared costs with Disney. So Marvel's in the clear, ABC's in the clear in terms of the cost of this show. But this now causes and drives a wedge, and again, this is according to Variety, a wedge between ABC and Marvel. Because ABC doesn't like the fact that the show looks bad. ABC doesn't like the fact that the script is poor. And apparently there's some friction, and not great feelings between them, regarding what happened here. And I think that, we did the episode more recently about the Inhumans and why this looks so strange. I think we now have our answer. IMAX put money down for this thing. Marvel and ABC didn't have money or didn't want to spend money, and so they just took what was enough to make the show and ran with that. That's the vibe that I get from this.
Huh. Interesting.
I like this kind of shit. I get a cheap thrill out of seeing giant corporations get mad at each other in passive aggressive ways. It's funny.
I think it's very interesting, and I like it too on that front. It's sad though, because the Inhumans went from being a very promising film to a show that we all know is shit. in 2 years. And as you guys both know for sure, 2 years is not a ton of time in this world. In the world of film and television, to take something from a movie to a television show is a massive difference. That's a massive undertaking. So in 2 years, they cast it. They decided to make it a show. IMAX gave them the budget and paid for it with Disney. They shot it on IMAX cameras. They shot, 13 episodes. 2 of them on IMAX cameras. And then shot the rest in 2 years. That's why it's like this.
You know what? All I have to say is get bent like Perlmutter. He's a big Trump supporter. He's been a huge Inhumans guy. He can get bent. It's hilarious. He's the guy that's trying to squirt bottle on a ketchup bottle on his hot dog, and he accidentally breaks the lid off, and the whole ketchup bottle squirts on his hot dog. And that is a euphemism.
I don't know what I was supposed to get out of that, but I don't want to get it.
Yeah, and this whole, I don't know, the whole thing is weird. I don't know if we've addressed this, but the Inhumans were featured on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah. It was like season, 3 maybe. You know, Chloe Bennett's character realizes she's an Inhuman, and she goes to the big Inhuman camp, and there's, very, very little mention of Black Bolt and the Inhuman Kingdom. But it's there, and I think that was gonna be their big tie-in for the show, for S.H.I.E.L.D. to be back in the cinematic universe. So I think,
right.
It's just, I don't know, this whole thing is just, it's weird.
It's the weirdest thing that they've done. It really is. And now that it's out, and people have seen it, and we know that it's bad, or at least the first 2 episodes. I don't want to, talk about the entire show. We don't know how the whole show is, but the first 2 episodes are bad. And it's sad. It sucks. As a fan of those characters, it sucks. In the grand scheme of things, obviously, it's not sad. But I wanted this to be good.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, they fucked over the X-Men forever. They kept pushing the Inhumans, and it just blew up in their face. The ketchup bottle squirt in their face. And I think it's funny.
Yeah, I think this may be something that could damn the Inhumans as a franchise for some time. Because
maybe.
Yeah, I don't
know. I don't know how much exposure it's gonna really get. Like the Fantastic Four was they were 3 major movies that did poorly and were poorly received. I don't know how much Inhumans is really on people's radar. It might honestly go down as like a trivia question one day. Oh, that was a TV show?
But say that's the case though. Are you suggesting that they fade into the abyss, or that they just make a movie later and it's good and no one cares that the show happened?
Like I said, either could happen. Either, I think, are a likely
honestly,
scenario.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I like the Inhumans. I think Black Bolt is a fascinating character, but not really on their own.
Right.
When, Marvel decided to, what was it? It was the, when they had the big Inhuman event that, Fraction was supposed to do. And they couldn't make it work with Fraction for whatever reason, and they passed it on to Charles Soule. And I think Jeff Lemire?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember what event that was.
It was called Inhumans versus X-Men.
That's what I thought you were
I think it was just
about.
before that.
Oh, Inhumanity.
Okay, yeah. For me, that was just like, okay, I don't know. I've always been really curious about what that would be and what Fraction's take on that was. But after he left it, I kind of backed away.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested enough in the Inhumans by themselves to care about any of this, really. I like Lockjaw. I like Medusa. I liked her in FF. Fraction's FF with Mike Allred. I don't know. I could go on and on, I guess, but there's nothing else to say. This this whole thing can, they'll get their 13 weeks of episodes and they'll get their $10 and I don't know, they'll try something else.
Unfortunately, I think you're probably in the majority. Like, in terms of your opinion about the Inhumans. Don't get me wrong, there are Inhumans fans. I'm an Inhumans fan. But I think that more people probably are like, okay, what is this? Maybe I have a connection to one or two of these people in some other book, or maybe I've never heard of them at all, but this doesn't look good. And they don't have a great track record in the comics, so why do I care? Yeah. Too bad, so sad.
Sad.
So things didn't end there for Marvel, as far as being pretty bad this week. Because comic shop owners don't want to buy the Marvel Legacy covers. So Marvel Legacy is coming out soon, and they're going to release a bunch of lenticular covers for each issue. There's 53 issues of comics that are coming out, all with lenticular covers. And what makes this such a bad deal for these different comic book shops is that in order to get them, you have to order an obscene amount of comic books. So, The Hollywood Reporter explains what I'm talking about in the following quote. Say you run a store and you regularly order 10 copies of Iron Man. Marvel will ask that you double your order in order to gain access to the lenticular covers. So if your regular 10 customers all want the lenticular cover, then you'll have to order 30 copies in total. The original 10 regular covers, an additional 10 regular covers to hit the 200% sales level, and then another 10, because those 10 are your lenticular covers. That's a lot of comics.
That's fucking insane.
This sounds like that Marvel closing down, when Bendis came in and they were selling the filing cabinets bullshit.
Yeah, I was also thinking like Heroes Reborn era Marvel.
Yeah, this is not a good look. And the following is a quote from Brian Hibbs, who owns 2 comic shops. If you get 225% of the one, you can order the other, more desirable version, but then you lose pretty much any demand for the regular edition in the first place, even if you can sell 300% or more of the fancy version. Literally, you are being asked to purchase comics you can't sell in order to gain access to comics you can. While a small handful of people are willing or able to buy multiple copies of the same insides, the largest majority of customers, just want a single version to buy. That's a great point.
Yeah, I would.
Most people.
I would never. For the most part, I can probably think of 2 instances I've gone to a comic shop looking for a specific cover. But if a shop doesn't have it, I go somewhere else.
No, what's crazy. This is what Marvel did 25 years ago when they were trying to... So, there was a trend in the early 90s around the time of the Death of Superman story where people found out that comic books had financial value. And so a lot of collectors, not comic book collectors necessarily, but people that are generally interested in resale value, were buying new comic books, and DC and then particularly Marvel were selling these lenticular covers, these special covers to these special collector's editions of these new issues. However, when these collectors found out that these new issues didn't have any immediate value, they stopped buying them, and it caused the industry to crash. That's essentially the sales tactics that Marvel's performing right now with these new lenticular covers. It's like a trading card game strategy, which is not typically sustainable in the long run.
It's not even working here because, and look, this article, and we're going to link to and everything like that. It's filled with, people who work in the industry, retailers saying, listen, we're not going to have these, or we're not going to have them all. And they're saying we can't buy this because there aren't enough people who come to our shops to buy comics that are going to buy multiple covers.
If you're a brick and mortar store owner, this jeopardizes your business. If you just buy a bunch of shit no one's going to buy.
Right. And I shop at Midtown Comics. Midtown Comics is pretty much Teflon, right? They've got a bunch of stores in New York. They're not going anywhere. They'll have every cover because they can sustain it. But most comic book shops are not even doing close to the business that Midtown does. So why are you trying to bury them? Does Marvel not know their business model and how it affects their retailers? I just don't get it. It's not a direct I can't buy these directly from Marvel. There is a middleman. That middleman has to stay in business. The middleman can't stay in business if you do things like this. I don't get it. But we're gonna continue to talk about that, but we're gonna talk about it in the context of our main topic, which is the world turning on Marvel? Marvel comic book sales are down this year from 2016's numbers. Secret Empire, which just ended with issue 10, drastically underperformed and was met with heavy backlash from fans and critics alike based on its premise alone. Retailers are outright refusing to buy the lenticular covers, like what we just talked about. Confidence in Marvel is nearly as low as it's ever been. Probably the only other time it's been this bad is what Phil was referencing, which was the Heroes Reborn era. And that leads to two obvious questions. Is it Marvel's time? Is Marvel's time as the unrivaled king of the comic book world at an end for now? And what can be done to right the ship?
I mean, to answer the short term, their time at the top has been over for like a year. Like, DC has been outselling Marvel for the most part for the last, ever since DC Rebirth, which came at the same time as a lot of the backlash Marvel started to receive. Long-term wise, not necessarily. There's a lot of hyperbolic articles that are being made on clickbait websites about how this is the end of comic books, the end of Marvel, Disney's got to pull the plug on the publishing line. That's not going to happen, I don't think. They'll figure a way out of this. DC did. DC got a ton of backlash for especially the New 52 and to a lesser extent DCU, and look what they did. They just shuffled the chairs around. Marvel, they were in a really bad spot where they sold the film rights to the X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk, a ton of Captain America, I think, at one point. And, they came around. Like, usually they get back in these corners because it's a niche industry, and when you feel the cords tighten, like, everyone feels it more than you would maybe in other industries, but I think they'll be fine. I think they'll figure a way out of this.
It sort of reminds me of, you guys have been talking about it on the Video Game Pals, Sean, about the PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know, they call them the console wars, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys have said that PlayStation, that Sony, they were really riding the PlayStation 2 wave, and they just kind of shat out the PlayStation 3, and they were just like, well, whatever, you're gonna buy it. And then, then people just stopped, they just didn't buy it, right? And then people, Xbox took the lead with, even later sales of the 360 and the Xbox One.
Well, so the PS3 didn't do so hot in the beginning. They worked and worked and worked on their image. Things got better. Then the PS4 came out. It stomped the Xbox One. And all the goodwill was on Sony's side. They changed their tune. They lowered the price. They did 50 million things to improve the way they were being seen, and it worked. I think the difference here, and this is like the This is why I want to have a really big conversation. The difference here is that we're not just talking about dollars and cents. We're talking about hearts and minds. Secret Empire did not underperform because it's bad. It didn't. That's a fact. The comic book is not bad. The story is not bad. The story is actually good. The story makes sense. Secret Empire underperformed because people don't like the idea of Captain America being a Nazi. That's all that people talk about when they talk about Secret Empire. That Cap's a Nazi, that's a bad look based on where the world is right now. People, and then there's the other side of the fence where people are saying, well, where's Iron Man? Why is he dead? Why is Thor bad? Why is Spider-Man black? Why is Wolverine not here? Right? There's so many things that people can point to before they even think about what's happening in the book that turns them off. Secret Empire actually did worse than Civil War 2, which was the most obvious cash-in I've ever seen besides Justice League and Suicide Squad.
Civil War 2 probably attracted more casual readers, though.
Sure. That's what these events are built to do, though. And so this is my thing, right? If events are built to drive in casual audiences, then Secret Empire is the worst event ever. Because it can't appeal to a casual audience in any way. Because no one will understand why Cap is a Nazi, and most people who do not have the backstory to that will not want to read it. I wouldn't want to read it if I hadn't read everything that came before.
Everything you're describing, Sean, really sounds like New 52 and DCU era DC. And DCU and the New 52 published a lot of good books, and they were being experimental. But you had the same types of people saying the same types of things. Why is Batman in a mech suit? Why is Superman in a t-shirt and jeans with like what looks like tattered like sheets on his fists? Why is he edgy looking? You have why is Lobo pretty and handsome now? There's like all kinds of shit like that. Where's Wally West? Constantly. That's not my Wally West.
For 5 years, yeah.
It's because people want the familiarity. They don't even read the books. They just want things to be status quo. And ultimately, Marvel probably is going to have to do the meat and potato approach to comics like DC did and go back to basics.
You're right, but see, here's the deal, and this is what's concerning. First of all, let's add some numbers. I wish Marco was here. He's the numbers guy on this show, but he's not, so I'll have to do the job.
He's too busy getting a breadstick shoved up his butt.
Oh. Comic book sales.
He's gonna get so sick.
Oh my god. He's gonna get sick from that?
That's not where breadsticks go.
A yeast infection.
Oh, what?
Olive Garden has unlimited breadsticks. He's in Italy. Pete's probably helping somehow.
All right. Wait. Let me take this back to...
Okay, yep.
Let me take this back to the story here. Comic book sales this year so far are down 8.69%. Okay? At least at the start of the year, it was Marvel that was dragging sales down because sales were up for DC and Image. Like, the rest of the comic book world was up. Marvel was down. So Marvel not doing well is not a good thing for comics at all. It's a very bad thing for comics.
Well,
and then,
I mean, yeah, when half of the big two is failing, that's bad.
Bad, really bad, absolutely atrocious. And then Marvel, with all this bad press surrounding Secret Empire and Captain America, says we're going to hold our ground. And some people commended them for that and some people didn't. But they started to shift the conversation, and you guys probably noticed this just doing the show. They started to shift the conversation away from Secret Empire and towards Marvel Legacy and Marvel Generations. We started reporting on those things and stopped talking about Secret Empire.
At like issue 2 of Secret Empire.
That I'm so glad you said that, Kale, because if you go to Comic-Con, which is a fantastic website for looking at comic book sales, the top 2 selling issues of Secret Empire are 0 and 1. And every single issue after those two sold worse than the one that came before. So Secret Empire 2 was the 28th best-selling book at Marvel. While Secret Empire 0 and 1 were 6 and 7, respectively. Secret Empire number 7 was the 49th best-selling comic for Marvel this year. 49th.
My question is that how steep is the decline in sale from each issue of the book?
Well, okay, so if you want to look at it on that level, then we'll do that. So, and I'm just going to talk about like the placement in this list rather than the units sold, because that can get murky.
I'm kind of curious about the units sold though,
right.
because let me give you my like thesis here. I don't know if it's true or not. Yeah, my hypothesis. I'm just wondering if people stop liking the book.
Well, all right. So,
because if each issue is declining, that means people that were reading it stopped reading it.
That's true, but there are a lot of reasons for that, right? Like, you could understand why the first two issues would do this well. The 0 issue and the first issue. 162,000 units sold and 157,000 units sold, respectively. That makes sense. Because they're the first two, so people check it out, right? And then you imagine, all right, there's probably going to be some drop-off. Here's the drop-off. 157,000 on issue 1, 100,000 on issue 2. That's
people were really
massive.
pissed about the reveal at the end of issue 1.
Sorry?
I said people must have been really pissed at the reveal at the end of issue 1.
That was
the end of issue 1 was Hail Hydra, right?
That was 0.
No. No. That happened in an issue of Captain America from last year. That was Captain America number 1 from last year.
Oh,
I see.
We've known he's been. This is the culmination. We've known he's been Hydra forever.
I see.
Yeah, this is people who come in with no knowledge because of hype and just buy the book. That's what.
Right.
That's what those initial sales were. The drop is because people don't understand what's happening. They don't like that he's Hydra. They don't know where Iron Man is. They don't understand why Thor's bad. It's all the stuff that I had previously mentioned.
Well,
that causes people.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you are making a point, but I also want to point out that number 2s always drop like that.
Sure, but we're talking about an event right now. You know, like. A drop-off that steep for a comic book event, I don't understand it. And especially when you're talking about Civil War was awful. Civil War 2 was really bad. The first 2 issues weren't even good. The 0 issue was probably the only really good issue of that book. And it outsold and outpaced Secret Empire. And I think you're right when you say, well, the name, Civil War, that's name value. But quality matters too, and I don't know that that's enough to explain this, to explain Secret Empire number 7 being outsold by a random issue of Batman, every random issue of Batman that came out this year.
Well, in that series defense, the Batman single issues are always in the top 5 of the monthly sales.
Okay, U.S. Avengers number 1. What? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
You know, Astonishing X-Men number 1. Like, is that a big deal? It's just Flash, the lenticular editions, the button issues of Batman and Flash wiped the floor with every issue of Secret Empire.
Did you see that lenticular Flash cover though? That was fucking hot.
I bought 2 copies. Yeah. I bought the regular one and the lenticular one for every issue. They're hot. Absolutely. But come on, man. And I don't want to make this just a Secret Empire conversation, because that's not the only thing we're talking about. When you look at Marvel Legacy, right? And you're talking about something that's supposed to bring back the core audience, no one cares.
Well, and they really tried to sell Generation as like a return to what came before, right?
Right.
But all it seems like it's turning out to be is a time travel experiment. Am I wrong?
Okay, so the problem with Marvel Generations is that it's fluff. It's absolutely meaningless. Yeah. So it's not even time travel. It's like displacement.
Yeah. And
it's what happens. We don't even know if what happens there matters. It doesn't seem like it really does. It's completely inconsequential for the old version of the character. So like Jean Grey from the current timeline meets the past Jean Grey. They're not gonna like Jean Grey's not coming back to life.
Right.
So what happens with her, that half of the story is irrelevant. So they're selling you on something that's meaningless. And when it was first announced, it sounded like it was going to be this amazing thing that was going to be this reuniting of these characters that was going to change the game. And it's not that. It's not. It's fluff. If you like the individual issues, great, but you don't have to read them. And then Marvel Legacy is supposed to bring things back to square one, but it follows directly based on what just happened with Secret Empire. And then the lenticular covers that they're trying to sell, they're stupid. They're dumb. They're taking covers from the golden age of comics and putting the new characters on them. Well, who does that appeal to?
Well, and also, I put this in our news collection feed. I don't know if you saw it, but the comic store Big Bang Comics posted on Twitter Marvel Legacy's schedule for fall of 2016, and the byline of it is every series is an event.
Well, actually, Kale, I have that whole thread open right now, and I was about to reference it, so I'm glad you took us there.
Oh, great. Well, let me just say this.
Go ahead.
Every series is an event, so none of them are.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Saying every series is an event is the worst thing you could say in 2017. Because all they're really saying is, this is the jumping on point for these books. We're trying to tell big stories with these books. We want to make sure that these stories are important so that you buy them. And what I just told you is an earnest version of what they're saying. The word event means something bad right now, so don't say that. But Marvel's head is so far up its own ass that they don't get that. And so we're talking about Big Bang Comics, and I do want to reference this thread on Twitter, which we'll link to. And they just have some interesting sales things that I wanted to reference. And again, this is one comic shop, right? But their top 10 books the week of 8/23/2017, right? So that's just a couple weeks ago. The number one selling book was The Flash. The number two selling book was Detective Comics. Number 3 was Nightwing: The New Order. Number 4 was Secret Empire number 9. It got beat by a random issue of Detective Comics. That's not good. That's not a good sign.
No, not at all. Detective Comics is the B book.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And then the week the 10th issue of Secret Empire came out, the last issue, it got beat by Deadpool 35. For this, go ahead.
That seems like a meme.
Right. For this particular comic book store, Secret Empire number 10 was the 6th best-selling comic of that week, beaten by Generations Hawkeye and Hawkeye. Why?
Do you think this is going to hurt Nick Spencer's career, as a sidebar?
Actually, Big Bang Comics has something to say about that. I'll just read I'll just read from the thread. We know there's an Omega issue. You'll love this, Phil. We know there's an Omega issue still to come out, but we only care for one Omega here in these parts. And he links to a GIF of Kenny Omega.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then Omega
He's
Red.
the elite, baby.
Yep. Then Omega Red, and then Kid Omega. And then he says, yep. Secret Empire's numbers were merely okay. It sold less than half of Civil War II, and that wasn't a great Marvel event for us anyway. By the end, Secret Empire sells less than, say, X-Men Gold. Even worse, it actively made people drop tie-ins to the series. Sales on Captain America, both Captain America, Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson, kept dropping through this too. It actually went as far as to kill sales on Nick Spencer's other comics. It's frankly something we've never seen before. We've seen comics be poorly received or ignored, but to have such a wide-ranging effect, that takes something special. And it seems like Marvel seemed to stop pushing it from early days. They focused entirely on building buzz for Legacy and let Secret Empire die. The entire thing was frankly bizarre, and in the end got nowhere, especially since the publisher announced ages ago that the classic Captain America was back in a comic with a new creative team. The entire climax was rendered pointless by Marvel themselves. And then there was a big thing done out of Generation spinning out of Secret Empire, and it was one panel. The story itself was what it was. Back in the day, this is referring to Secret Empire. Back in the day, it might have been a line-wide event done in the annuals like Atlantis Attacks, but it was pushed as an event, as something that matters, and the readers weren't in it from day one. They are tired. And the few readers that stuck with it got awarded with nothing, because the event wasn't just an event. The event just was an event. It was a Cap story blown up. It was disappointing series sales-wise, and I hope Marvel learns something from this going forward. Civil War 2 was a cash-in. Secret Empire was whatever it was. Surely going forward, they'll learn not to event everything. And then, at the end of that, he links the big Marvel picture showing Marvel Legacy and the words, every series is an event.
Wow.
Everything's important. Don't miss anything. No thanks.
I think that this Big Bang Comics Twitter thread, and I'm saying he, I don't know if it's a he, I'm just referring to the person who was putting up these tweets. This sums up the whole conversation surrounding Marvel right now. It's bad. Retailers don't want to buy the lenticular covers. Secret Empire underperformed majorly, and the word of mouth is awful. And this is not good for anybody. This isn't good for the person who wrote this. This is awful for the person who wrote this.
I have a theory, a conspiracy, if you will.
Go.
Nick Spencer is actually part of Hydra, contracted through DC Comics to destroy Marvel.
I don't like your theory.
Yeah, it's a shitty theory.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a conspiracy theory. It is what it is.
It's shit. So, also, I didn't. There was like a USA Today article or something that also like basically amounted to, oh guys, don't worry, Captain America's coming back.
Yeah,
exactly. When like issue 7 came back around or something.
Not even. That happened before Secret Empire even launched. I think. And listen, guys, I could talk about this for another hour. Because I really am passionate about this subject because I love Marvel and it sucks to see this. But they shot themselves in the foot. Big Bang Comics on Twitter is totally right. They didn't even give Nick Spencer the opportunity to tell his story before they told you and showed you. They didn't even just tell you. They showed you what Captain America was going to look like. They showed you the creative team. They told you exactly what the story was going to be about, and he was still bad in Secret Empire. He hadn't even turned.
Well, and
so there. Go ahead.
One thing that like always cracked me up about it is when I think it was around. It must have been around the time of Cap's famous Hail Hydra issue. They showed it to Chris Evans, who I guess happened to be in the Marvel offices, and he was reading it, and he just was like, "No," like he just looked upset.
Yeah.
This tale harkens to a very famous story. Gather around, listeners, because it's time for story time with Phil Casey. Once upon a time in the WCW, there was a big angle they pushed with a character named the Shockmaster. As it turned out, the Shockmaster was just an overweight wrestler with a purple bedazzled stormtrooper helmet, and upon his pyro-laden introduction, he tripped and fell, his helmet fell off, and that was the end of the Shockmaster before he could even get started. And that's what happened here with Marvel and Secret Empire. It is the Shockmaster.
I appreciate your attempt at a correlation between one of the worst character debuts in history and what's going on with Secret Empire, but I disagree on the face that Shockmaster was never going to be good. Secret Empire is good. It's not the problem. The problem is the word of mouth. The problem is how Marvel handled it.
Well, and to compound on that, like, you and Marco both read America, right?
Yeah.
Did you like it? I can't remember.
No, I thought it was awful.
I specifically remember Marco didn't like it because he said that it felt pandering. It felt like they weren't writing America as a character. They were writing America as a Latina.
As a Latina who had every single stereotype embedded in her personality.
They were writing a Latina that happened to be America, but not America as a Latina. Does it make more sense? Similar to what I've heard about the recent Iceman comic. They're writing a gay man as Iceman versus Iceman as a gay man. And they're cashing in on that.
That makes sense.
That idea and that...
Oh, he's gay.
Yeah. More than they're focusing on the character. And I was really surprised to hear that from people that aren't us, I guess. Because I think I mentioned at some point, a comic shop opened down the road from me, and they have little, just small, like writers panels on the weekdays, and they were filming it, and I happened to catch it at this point, and I was really surprised that like a young Latino woman said, yeah, it was pandering. And I feel the same way about Iceman.
Yeah, I mean, it was schlocky, right? And I don't want to disparage the writer on any level. I'm sure she tried her best. And by the way, the writer, Gabby Rivera, is Hispanic. She is Latina. So she's giving her world in that book.
Similarly, Sign of Grace is a gay man.
Right. So he's putting himself into that book. So that's I don't know. That's like a whole other can of worms, right? But it fits into this wheelhouse of, man, nothing that Marvel's trying to do is good. They tried to put Gabby Rivera on a book about a Hispanic girl, and it backfired because Hispanics don't like it. They tried to put a gay man on a book about Iceman who is now gay, and it backfired because gay people don't like it, right? And by the way, I don't know that all people of either grouping feel that way. I'm just saying that the narrative hasn't been the best.
And I said this to you guys after I finished. No, I didn't even finish when I got the Champions trade. That was the first Marvel trade I think I'd bought in a while. Mark Waid was on the team, and when that first issue came out, I think I talked about it in the very first issue in like our very first episode. I thought it was great. But then I read the trade, and it was just it was that. It was completely pandering. The two the two teenage girls didn't want to make out to titillate the boys, and the black kid knows a Kanye lyric, and the Asian kid's good at math, and it's just like, what?
It's lazy writing.
And I don't know who that's on. I don't know who it's on that America came out the way it did. Because Marvel, you would think, okay, hey, Marvel put their best foot forward. But when the book comes out the way it does, and Hispanics feel how they do, who's getting blamed? Not Gabby Rivera. She's a superstar. People were hyped that she was writing this book. The only person who's going to get blamed is Marvel. All the headlines are going to be Marvel panders to Hispanic audiences. But before we wrap this up, I want to try to end on a positive note. What do you guys think Marvel has to do to bring people back into the fold and win audiences over again? Or is it even possible right now?
like I said, we're going to have to do the old DC meat and potatoes approach. I think that's what it's going to take. They got the rebrand, kind of.
Have you been following Marvel Legacy enough to say whether or not you think this is what will do it?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it. Maybe no, I don't think so, because I think this has been more of an attempt to push the narrative further, because it's more like
Phil. Phil stood up and went to go answer the door to our conversation, and he doesn't even know what's been happening, and he knows.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, someone was at my door. I had to acknowledge it, but yeah, I mean, it feels like they're pushing the narrative of, like, these are our new characters, let's push them, which I don't think is a bad thing to do. Like, I mean, I've said this on the show before, but I like it when comic books push new ideas, even if they're slightly derivative. Like, at least you're pushing the status quo. But it feels like more like another wrestling analogy, when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble and they had The Rock come in and hold his hand up, see, it'd be like, see, he's friends with The Rock, and everyone still booed. That's kind of what this event feels like. It's like, see, these are all the old characters you like. They're with the new characters, and we'll see how that turns out. But it feels gimmicky. It feels like for Marvel to get in good graces with, your meat and potatoes comic book fans, they're going to go back to meat and potatoes and rebrand as, like, DC Rebirth, something like that. Well, basically copy DC.
And to sort of follow the meat and potatoes analogy, like if say it like the event is like a steak dinner, at a really expensive restaurant, like you can't function on an event every issue, because that's gonna get expensive. That's gonna get, now my analogy's getting mixed up, but like it's all gonna mix together, and nobody's gonna pay attention because everything's important, so nothing's important.
And the truth is, it really is hard not to get caught up in the narrative, because the way Sean phrased it in the beginning, it is everyone turning on Marvel. And even in our own private chat throughout the week, we get caught up in Marvel bashing, and we occasionally have to be pulled back and say, like, the books aren't necessarily bad, it's just they have really bad press. Marvel has really bad press.
And honestly, like, not to harp on this, but like writers like Dan Slott and Nick Spencer aren't helping that,
Or Brian Michael Bendis.
He's a loved person, but his books, people, I think Kale's talking about those individuals as people beyond their books.
Specifically on Twitter and
right.
Frankly, like the lying that's gone on, from editors. What was it? I know for a fact, I think it was Brevoort, blatantly said, no, Peter Parker will never come back. And then, there have been several editors recently who have said, just awful things. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that, because I can't back that up. But
but no, there was the whole beef around the Marvel sales vice president saying that diversity was the problem. Look, it's been a bad year. Everyone can acknowledge that. It's been a bad year. The press is bad. Marvel themselves have put them in this position. I am the biggest Marvel defender, okay? And I will not say that they didn't dig themselves this hole. I won't say it. But I will say this. Marvel is trying to give you what Marvel thinks you want. People said, we want new characters. We want more diversity. Marvel gave it to you. Marvel took away Wolverine, Iron Man, Thor, Bruce Banner, and replaced them with characters who are diverse. With characters who don't look like everyone else. And then the narrative was, Marvel doesn't care about its core base. Marvel is pandering. So then,
this is wait. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I know, I'm sorry.
So then Marvel said, we're going to try different things. So they gave us a story that's different. Civil War 2 was more of the same. They said, let's try something else. They gave us Secret Empire. Nobody wants that either. So now Marvel's saying, all right, we'll give you everything. We'll put every character together with every character. And people say what Kale said before, which is, it just feels like, or I think what Phil said actually, it just feels like you're trying to throw them together to say, hey, look at this, everybody's cool. So it almost feels like there's nothing Marvel can do to win, because they've tried and tried. The stories are still there, they're still good, but no one wants to hear what Marvel has to say right now.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between they're trying to give you what you want and delivering on that. You know, I would like to give Phil a good birthday cake, but if I give him, you know, a flattened piece of undercooked garbage, that's not really a birthday cake.
So the thing is, we've talked about this before. The people that are clamoring for more racial, gender, and sexual diversity in comics, I don't think are the same people who are now clamoring for Marvel to go back to the meat and potatoes. I think those are two distinct groups in the community. And I think DC has done a good job of finding a way to balance both. I think it's I have nothing of substantial. This is just my interpretation, is that there's probably more people of the comic book community that buy and read comics that like the meat and potato stuff. So the majority of DC, at least a majority of their publishing line, is being interpreted as meat and potato stuff, but they're still producing and publishing books that promote racial, gender, sexual diversity that would appeal to the LGBTQ plus community. Whereas I don't get that impression from... Marvel doesn't have that balance right now, or at least they don't have the reputation for having that balance right now.
Thank you. That, what you just said right now, that last part is accurate. The balance is present, but no one cares that it's present.
They have to find a way to market it.
Look at the difference between what people say about DC and their balance and what people say about Marvel and their balance. They have the exact same number of LGBTQ comic books being published right now. 1. Batwoman, Iceman, right? Most of the characters that DC has are the main characters are old. For Marvel, I would say probably most of the books feature the younger characters, the more diverse characters, but the older characters are either present on some level or are altered on some level, but still have their own title. So it's all essentially the same, but Marvel, no one wants to hear that. No one sees it that way. And I think that kind of is what matters here.
Yeah.
And as far as what Marvel can do to fix things, and then we'll wrap up, I think that they probably just have to say, look, we screwed the pooch, stop talking about events, stop doing events for a little while, don't talk about whatever the next event is going to be for some time. Let Marvel Legacy be what it is. Be low-key, tell good stories, and just coast on the stories. Lay low. Trust in your creators that are super talented to drive the narrative of the Marvel Universe. Stop talking. Stop talking. Marvel talked too much in 2017. Stop talking. Tell stories that are good. Treat your creators with respect. Don't give them a reason to go elsewhere and say bad things. And then, when the narrative changes, that's when you come out with whatever the next event is going to be. That has to come from the stories you're telling in the books, but also be something that anyone can read. Once you do that, I think Marvel takes their place back. One final thing.
I got a better idea.
Go ahead.
All right, Marvel, listen up. You're going to hire Sean to be part of your executive board community and direction of the company.
I'm here.
You're going to hire Marco in analytics, You're going to hire Pete in marketing. You're going to put Kale in your bullpen of writers. And you're going to make me the face of the company.
And what do we call it?
Marvel.
The Marvel Pals.
The Marvel Pals.
I'd listen to that podcast. Only in those specific circumstances, though.
Podcast. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
So I think
well, all five of us could still be the comics Marvel Pals and be on the payroll. We would just be shills.
I mean, as long as we're on the
I'd
payroll.
love to be a
yeah.
shill for Marvel.
Yeah, as long as we're on the payroll.
That's going to do it for that conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. And obviously Marvel has a lot of work to do going forward. Before we jump out of here, I do want to tell you guys where you can respond to that conversation and keep the conversation going and flowing beyond this episode. You can hit us up on iTunes. When you do leave your comment, you can absolutely leave us a rating as well. And find us on all other podcast hosting platforms. You can reach out to us on social media, where we are at the Comics Pals all over the place. We are active there and eager to talk to you there if you reach out to us. On YouTube, where a lot of you guys love to send your comments our way, that's a perfectly fine way to reach out to us, and we obviously read those comments on the air, which we did earlier in the show. Gmail, you can write to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. And last but not least, certainly do listen to the Video Game Pals this week. I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully it's going to be fun, because I'll be there. And future me, have a good time. Let's do some plugs. Kale.
All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to the Comics Pals. Have you guys ever noticed how Pete does that? He always just... Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, thanks again. So Pete's plugs, you can always find him on loud_Pete on Twitter and I believe Instagram. He's the host of the Video Game Pals. So listen to that.
Read my articles at CBR.
Oh, and he, I believe, is still on the payroll at CBR, so go click on his articles a couple times.
And eat at the Olive Garden.
And he's a real big fan of Fazoli's, I've heard. I don't know if that's true. I have to look that up.
Hey, Paisan.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TotoInto. That's TOTOINTOW. The panel screw will actually be at Thought Bubble on September 23rd. So if for some reason we have listeners in the UK, actually I think we do. I think we have a couple. That'd be rad. Speak up, you UK listeners. Panels will be at Thought Bubble. Please buy Letty and Nathan's stuff. Cosmic number 4 and Cosmonaut the Cosmonaut number 3 will be premiering at Thought Bubble. Very excited about that. And one more thing, friend of the show, Nick Webster, if you're a football fan, is the host of the Redskins Hangover. It's a football podcast all about the previous day's Redskins football game. A new season of football is coming up, and so that means the boys are already tired.
Fun. Phil?
I'm on Cyborg Bebop on both Twitter and Instagram. Go ahead and follow me. I have pictures of cats and me doing cool things. Marco?
Hi guys, I'm Marco. You can find me at Woe is Marco on Twitter. Woe is Marco _. Find Swamp Thing in your local toilet and make sure and say hi. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Great episode.
Thanks, Marco.
Thanks, Marco.
That was cool that he called in from Italy to make that.
I thought he was in Kazakhstan or some shit like that.
Shit like that. Yeah. Either way, it was cool. Cool that we got him.
His voice sounded weird. I think there was still a breadstick in his part.
And as for me, I am at Sean Soapbox on Twitter. I would love to continue the conversation about Marvel. Even if you disagree with me, I'm open to that. Let's talk about it. With that, you're the Comics Pal signing off. Take care, guys.
Bye. Super Slam!